Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into visas. You know, that official permission in your passport letting you enter, stay, or even leave a country for a set time and purpose.
That's right. And our mission today is basically to give you the essentials fast why visas exist, the general process.
We'll focus mostly on the, let's say, the big three: work, student, and tourist visas.
Exactly. Think of it as your quick guide to understanding these key international travel rules. So maybe start with the why. Why do we even need these permissions?
Good question. They feel like such a standard part of travel now, but what's the actual core reason countries require them?
Well, at its heart, it's really about managing who's coming into the country. Visas are a major tool for governments.
They monitor entry.
Yeah, to monitor and control the entry of foreign nationals. It ensures people are entering legally and for the reason they stated: work, study, tourism, whatever it is.
Okay.
And this helps maintain, national security. It also supports economic stability by regulating who can work, and it just upholds their immigration laws.
Right, so it's a way for countries to keep track, make sure everything's sort of
Yeah.
above board. Let's dive into how it actually works then. Say someone needs a work visa. What are the usual steps involved there?
Okay, work visas. Usually the process kicks off with a job offer from an employer in that country.
Right, you need the job first.
Absolutely. And often that employer needs to sponsor you or maybe get a specific work permit for you.
Okay.
Then comes the paperwork. You'll typically need your passport, the actual job contract, sometimes things like police clearance certificates or medical reports.
And proof of qualifications, I imagine.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Proof you can actually do the job. Then there might be an interview. You'll pay a fee, of course, and then you wait for the decision.
So that job offer really is the starting point.
Yeah.
What about for students, people looking to hit the books overseas?
Student visas are a bit different. The first thing you absolutely need is that acceptance letter from a university or school there.
The admission confirmation.
Exactly. After you've got that, you then have to prove you have enough money.
The funds.
Yes. Proof of funds for tuition, living costs, everything. It's a
Yeah.
big one. Other standard things are your passport, your academic records, maybe proof of language skills like IELTS or TOEFL if needed.
Right.
You submit all that, pay the fee, possibly have an interview, and then wait for their decision. Showing you have enough money can sometimes be tricky for students,
I can imagine that's a hurdle for quite a few people. Okay, and what about the visa most people think about for holidays, the tourist or visit visa?
Right, the tourist visa. With that one, the main focus shifts to your actual travel plans.
Like your itinerary.
Yeah, your itinerary, where you're staying. You'll need your passport, photos, naturally. And crucially, you still often need to prove you have enough funds for your stay.
And that you'll leave.
That's key. You often need to show strong ties to your home country, like a job, family, property, to convince them you plan on returning and won't overstay. Then it's the application form, pay the fee, and wait for the outcome.
Okay, let's talk fees. Nobody enjoys paying them, but why do countries charge visa fees? And how do you typically pay up?
Well, the fees primarily cover the administrative costs. Processing applications, running the systems, it all costs money.
Makes sense.
Sometimes the fee amount is also based on reciprocity, basically, what your home country charges their citizens for a similar visa.
Like a tit-for-tat thing?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
As for paying, it varies. Often online, sometimes at a dedicated visa application center, maybe a bank transfer, credit card, occasionally even cash, but you need to check the specific embassy's rules.
And a key point, those fees are often non-refundable,
Right.
even if you get denied.
That's usually the case, yes. You pay for the processing, not necessarily for the visa itself. So it's important to get the application right the first time.
Good tip. So
Yeah.
who are the people actually making these decisions and handling the paperwork?
Primarily, it's the embassy or consulate of the country you want to visit. They make the final call.
Okay.
However, lots of countries now use third-party companies, like VFS Global is a common one, just to handle collecting the applications and biometrics. They don't make the decision, but they manage the front end.
I see. And for specific types.
Right. For work visas, the employer and the destination country's immigration department are heavily involved. For student visas, it's often coordination between the educational institution and immigration authorities, too.
Sounds like quite a few players can be involved depending on the visa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last big area. Rejections. What are the common reasons? The big red flags people really need to avoid?
Top of the list, honestly. Incomplete or incorrect documents, simple mistakes can sink an application.
So attention to detail is crucial.
Absolutely. Not having proof of sufficient funds is another major one we talked about.
Right.
Also, if the officials suspect you might not leave, maybe you don't have strong enough ties to home, that's a big concern for them. Risk of overstaying.
Makes sense from their perspective. What else?
A problematic travel history, maybe previous visa denials, or certainly any kind of criminal record. Those are serious issues. Health concerns, too, if you don't meet specific medical requirements for that country. And it should go without saying, but submitting fake documents or lying on your application, that's a guaranteed rejection and can have longer-term consequences. Even just being inconsistent in your interview or your stated purpose can raise suspicion.
So really, it boils down to being thorough, honest, and making sure your situation clearly matches the visa requirements.
Precisely. It takes careful preparation. Getting a visa isn't just paperwork. It reflects that whole balance a country tries to strike between being open and managing its own borders and security.
Yeah, this whole deep dive really underlines how that seemingly simple visa stamp connects to these big, complex ideas about nations, borders, and individuals trying to move between them.
It really does.
It definitely gets you thinking about the future, doesn't it? In a world that feels increasingly connected, will getting permission to travel get simpler, maybe more digital? Or could global uncertainties actually lead to even tighter controls? Something to ponder long after this. Thanks for exploring all this with us today.